Good evening. At this time, I call this High Springs City Commissioner meeting to order, January the 13th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for the invocation and silence prayer, and finally, we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Amen. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Vice Mayor James.
Here.
Commissioner Ambrose.
Here.
Commissioner Jones. She had advised she was going to attend by Zoom, but she's not on yet. So Commissioner White's also advised she would attend by Zoom, but she should be on in a few minutes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda, amended agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the amended agenda.
I second.
Okay, got a motion and seconds. Any questions? Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. At this time, I entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes for December the 9th, 2021 Commissioner Workshop and December the 9th, 2021 Commissioner Meeting.
I move we go ahead and approve the minutes from the December 9 workshop and meeting.
I second.
Okay, I got a motion and seconds. Any concerns, any changes need to be made? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same signs. All right, thank you. Motion carries. No presentations at this time. Unfinished business. Resolution 2022-B.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to read that by title only. This is resolution number 2022-B, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of High Springs, Florida, supplementing resolution numbers 2001-I and 2007-J of the city as previously amended and supplemented, authorizing the issuance of $850,000 in aggregate principal amount of its water and sewer revenue bonds, Series 2022, in order to finance certain capital improvements to the city's water and sewer system, making certain other covenants and agreement in connection with the issuance of such bonds, providing certain terms and details of such bonds, including authorizing the sale of said bonds to trust bank, appointing the paying agent and register with respect to said bonds, and providing an effective date.
This is not a new loan. This is it's more of a housekeeping item from the one we previously adopted, I believe, back in November. There was a couple issues that needed to be addressed, needed to be cleaned up. There was an exhibit missing that's now in this, and this is more of an administrative housekeeping adoption. This loan will be closed on Friday for the financing of the third well.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners? Any discussion?
I think we had pretty much cleared it. I believe we had pretty much cleared it through the commission on its original reading, and we just had to clean up a few things that we now are told that everything's a go. So I'm good if that's all right.
Yeah, I'm good too. My understanding was the loan, the net amount was $850,000. So we're just fixing things. So I'm fine making a motion. We go ahead and approve resolution 22B as presented.
Okay, and I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Anyone from the audience? Citizen comments?
This is citizens' comment.
No, sir. No, sir. On this issue we're speaking on now, sir. On the bond issue. All righty. And then, Madam Clerk?
Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Vice Mayor James.
Yes.
Commissioner Ambrose.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. At this time, citizen requesting comments for items not on the agenda. Please state your name. Yes, sir. For the agenda, you don't have to give your address, just state your name. Thank you. Fine.
This particular issue here, I just want to come up and say, thanks a bunch. This problem with the water well, you all are aware of it, just like I am for the last 25 years. It's been a big, big problem. It's a big loan, and I hate to see that as a citizen, taxpayer, but a lot of really good work's gone into getting it started, and the city certainly needs it. So thanks for that. Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lynch, Linch. I would like to remind the commissioners that alcoholic beverages kill 241 people each day. And that is what the commissioners are supporting and condoning by the power of the state. They allow High Springs Brewing to use the High Springs name.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one rising, we'll move on to new business. Item number 2, consider ordinance 2022-01.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 2022-01, an ordinance of the City Commission for the City of High Springs, Florida, amending Article 7 of the Land Development Code regarding home occupations, providing for home-based business regulations consistent with Florida statutes, for providing for enforcement, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And this ordinance is related to a new statute, statute 559.955, which essentially preempts the regulation of home-based businesses to the state. And it outlines in the statute what regulations the municipality has. Basically, the goal of this is to ensure consistent enforcement of home-based businesses throughout the state of Florida. So if the home-based business is operating such that you can't tell it's a business from the street, in summary, that would make it compliant with the Florida statute. And I'm happy to answer any questions about specifics.
Thank you.
In short, we had several complaints on several home-based businesses. When we started looking at enforcing this, we realized that we were not in compliance with state statute within our ordinance. Reached out to legal. This is where we're at. There's a few others that will be coming to the commission over the next few months. One will be the sign ordinance, one will be the noise ordinance. We got a couple others that we need to have some administrative cleanups to align with this portion as well. But that's where we're at right now, and this will allow us to start moving forward on some of the home-based business complaints we've had.
Mayor? I'm really disappointed we have to do this. But this is what I saw coming a year ago when our state senator, Perry, pushed for this law to go through in the Senate and in Tallahassee in the last legislative session. And I want to be on the record, that I fought against this and some other bills that really preempted home rule last year. I'm going to continue to do that, but citizens need to be aware this is what's happening in Tallahassee. Last year, as much as I tried to contact Senator Perry and just ask, why does this issue need to be dealt with a one-size-fits-all solution from Tallahassee and not left to the local governing bodies, and didn't have the courtesy of a returned email or phone call to his staff. So unfortunately, we're in this situation and we're going to have to navigate it. And hopefully there are enough instances around the state that show what kind of a bad legislation piece this is, that maybe there's some change from Tallahassee. But at the moment, unfortunately, there really is nothing we can do other than make our rules compliant with the state. And I'm very disappointed we have to do this.
And for clarification, we cannot
can regulate things.
Do I have to go up there? Hi, Sheila Gannon, Gannon. I couldn't hear all what you were saying when you read the statute, but I thought I heard you say if you notice a difference from the street regarding the property, and it's obvious one of these, I'm here regarding the auto business that's in the High Springs area, that's in a residential area off of what street? 191st. It's a house, but then they have large spotlights. Where are they called? Spotlights that you could see from the street. That's obviously not part of the decorum for a regular residence. There's also smoke emitting and then the noise. I mean, so I think there's some give and play. I understand what you're saying about what's coming down from Tallahassee. However, I think we could kind of fit some kind of help for our situation, given what I thought I heard you read out of the law there, so the ordinance there. So help me out there.
That is exactly why we're passing this tonight, is so we can address this, and we're in compliance with state statute. Currently, the way it's written, we are not in compliance with state statute. We can't enforce any of this at this point in time.
Okay.
That is why we are doing this. Now, code enforcement has an active case in reference to that business. There's been some new stuff brought to light with code enforcement that was received today and yesterday that has been turned over to code enforcement, and that was looked at this afternoon. There's some different things moving forward at this point in time, but just because somebody has a big light in their backyard does not dictate whether they're running a business or not. If it looks like a house from the front yard, those are the things, that's what's really being cleaned up in this ordinance. So it's standard across the board. So it's just not pick and choose. So.
There's a lot of us that have a lot to say, so why don't you go ahead?
Are we at the point of citizen comment on this yet? Okay.
My name is Lance Werner, V as in Victor, E-R-N-E-R. I'm here to speak about that business. I live off of 190th Avenue, which is behind the diner. This house that we are talking about that is running an automotive and engine repair business is located at the corner of my property between two other houses, and the neighbors who own those houses are presently here. This person operates a full automotive business. He's built a crazy looking cover over the top of it, which you can see from outside of the yard. The man works days and nights all the way into the evenings. He has lights that permeate all of our houses. His air compressor is an industrial air compressor. His specialty seems to be brake jobs. I don't know if you've been to City Boys and had your brakes done, but when people are running pneumatic tools and things, it sounds like a pit stop in a NASCAR race. Constantly on a daily basis, well, Monday through Friday, holidays included, this guy brings vehicles in and out, works on engines, revs motors constantly, and has no regard for any of the neighbors in this residential neighborhood. Now, I've lived there for 29 years and I pay taxes and I take care of my house. My neighbors on either side of them have been there close to 50. This guy rents this property. Even the owner of the house, we've contacted him. He is not happy with what this gentleman has done to his property. He told us that he was going to force him to make those changes back so it looked like a normal yard again, but he has failed to follow through. So my problem is how can somebody be allowed to operate a business which continually uses very loud equipment, runs engines, not nice and idle and quiet, but revs them. And I've submitted a lot of videos showing these kind of actions to code enforcement and also to Mr. Gillingham. And the problem is we don't feel like this is an appropriate business to be in a residential neighborhood. From my house, there are 5 automotive and 1 bike shop within 6 blocks of us. None of those businesses seem to be operating beyond normal daylight hours. And yet we have to endure sometimes revving engines at 10 o'clock at night. It just doesn't seem right, even though it is a home-based business, that somebody's allowed to do those things. And I'd appreciate it if something could be done to stop it. Thank you.
And we have been in contact with this gentleman since the last commission meeting. They have provided videos, which I did forward tonight or this afternoon to Chief Shepherd. And like I said, staffs are reviewing them and going through. Some of that stuff was brought to light that we weren't even aware of. So code enforcement's gone around there a couple of times. I'm going to let Chief Shepherd explain a few other things when these folks are done so you can hear where we're at with the case.
Hello, my name is Deborah Simone. I live 2 doors down from this business. If part of the criterion is that you shouldn't realize that it's actually a business from the street, there's constantly vehicles being brought in. Some are actually being towed in on a rope. Today I went by and there's a lawnmower that's being worked on in the front yard. So it's not that everything is behind closed doors. He's also built structures, and I would love to see the permits for those structures. If I want to build something in my backyard, I want to put up a tall roof, like a pole barn or something. It's my understanding I'm required to pull a permit for that. He has not pulled any permits that I'm aware of. He just does whatever he wants. He's painted the neighbor's fence on their side, even though they specifically asked him not to do that. He will test run his vehicles and just drive them around the block and around the block and around the block 20 times. He just has not a bit of concern about anyone. He's not even on the lease. It's his girlfriend who's on the lease. I sent a letter to y'all saying that when I first met him, he offered to do some work on my truck. I asked him to do it in my yard and he said, no, he'd rather take it to his place. But I really didn't think that much about it because it was a simple job and he had a full-time job. He gave me a business card that says that he's, in business for himself. When I think of a home-based business, I think of Mary Kay or, some innocuous thing that's behind closed doors where no one really knows. This is not that situation. Everyone in the neighborhood knows. Everyone is angry. I've only owned my house for 4 years, but I pay taxes. I have rights. I'm hoping that you guys can do something. My next phone call tomorrow morning is going to be to the EPA, and I'm going to get them involved. And on down the line until this is resolved. This will not stop here. It will not stop with you. It will only stop when he's gone or he closes up shop, because all of us have had it and we will not stop, period. So if you can help us, awesome. If not, we're moving on. Thank you.
Afternoon, evening. My name is J.D. McNeil. I've lived in my location since 1974. We've never had any problem like this. I want to iterate what my neighbors have said, but my main concern when I confronted my neighbor with this, he said noise was too much. I asked my wife, now she moved into a nursing home. I didn't appreciate that. That's just how much concern he has for us. So whatever my neighbors said, I do want to iterate. This is all what's going on. Thank you.
My name is Eva Werner. That's my husband, Lars Werner, who gave you the background of everything. I have read all these new statute that says that the home business can be present in the neighborhoods. However, there are four major points here which this person named Dave, the renter, breaks with. So first of all, parking. He parks numerous cars all the time at different hours of the day and night in different places, which is on neighboring properties, next to the, like 5 feet from the bedroom of this neighbor, Mrs. Lindsay here. And it's blasting lights from the cars, not only from overheads that he has at different hours of the day. He never dims them, just drives in, revving the engines, parking 5 feet from her bedroom. It's clearly it's not easy to avoid him. So there, the parking. He completely is in disagreement with that rule. The second, you have external modifications. So these modifications, some of my neighbors already mentioned that. First of all, he builds contraptions like made of rusted metal pieces, trying to block the light. The second, different tarp portions. And the third, fences, which are not approved by the owner, from different pieces of wood, color, nothing. It's supposed to look nice in the neighborhood. He does quite opposite by binding his stuff. Of course, the noise. It is abysmal. It is a torture. All of us, we are all prisoners in our houses. Now it's pandemic. We are all said to, okay, stay in your house, be in your environment, in your yard. We cannot be in our yards. First, the noise, which injures our ears. Second, the nauseous fumes all the time, constantly, day in and day out. And the question is, since he's doing the brake jobs, what does he do with the oil and with the stuff that he pulls up from these vehicles? We have obtained some videos where he just washes the grime straight up into the ground, and it goes into the aquifer. So he's completely breaking these rules as well. And I'd like to say that the vibrations, yeah, we can feel it in our houses. Smoke at night, very often he burns the results of his work. Some of these are plastic bottles that he probably brought oil in. Dust from burning, halogen glare. He breaks that with breaks with that rule. Fumes, nauseous odors, all of it. And what are the effects on us? You know, first of all, poisons our lungs. We cannot be outside. Affects our hearing and vision. The noise is absolutely unbearable. I cannot even express it. I provided some videos, and I was hoping that perhaps there would be, at least one of them would be here, because the picture is 1,000 words, worth of 1,000 words. Just, I can say all I want, but you really have no concept how hard it is on us. It's absolutely unbearable.
So, ma'am, how much more time?
All
Because
right,
your
so then
time.
I will finish here, and I ask you for some help because we are at our wits' end. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else?
Do I have to stand up there?
If you can, ma'am.
If you can.
If you can, if you can't, if you can't.
Here.
No,
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Thanks. I've been married 60 years to the same man. We've lived in that house we live in now, 19051 Northwest 243rd Terrace, over 50 years. We had a great community. We had a great people there. Now we got one person, I won't call names, that's ruining everything. I can't, you know, in High Springs, you got a 10-foot thing that they can't come in when they're building or something. Well, he pulls his vehicle up, must be 10 foot 5 inches, and sits there and says, arr, 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 till that's my bedroom. I can't tolerate that much longer. And like I say, I've been here 60 years here. Oh, my name is Jesse Lindsay. My husband's name is Tommy. He's from here. I'm from the big town of Alachua. Didn't get far. But anyway, it's getting where it's intolerable. Like they said, revving the engines. I don't know how much more we can tolerate. I don't know how much we should have to tolerate. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to let you know,
Turn your mic on.
the city attorney will explain the new ordinance further because there are still some things we can do. And Chief Shepherd can talk after the city attorney regarding the specific case and what we've done so far, or where we've gotten as far.
And before she speaks, let it be known that Commissioner Linda Jones is in the meeting at this time.
I'm right here. So just to clarify a little bit further on this, this ordinance that we're looking at tonight is just to make sure that our code is in compliance with the Florida statute, which is what I'm sorry, I have a soft voice, I know. Is that better? Can y'all hear me now? Okay. So just to clarify, the ordinance that we're looking at tonight is just to bring our code into compliance with Florida statutes. So the Florida statute is what regulates home-based businesses at this point. That does not mean that the city is not able to enforce the code that's compliant with the statute. So if there is a piece of property where the property owner is in violation of the noise ordinance, they're disposing of toxic chemicals improperly, they are in violation of parking, they are building accessory structures that are not consistent, that are not permitted, or not consistent with the surrounding area. All of those are enforceable violations of this code. So just because it's preempted to the state doesn't mean we have no control over the properties anymore or over home-based businesses anymore. It just means that we have to follow the statute when we are enforcing our code. If that helps to clarify that we still do have authority to enforce if someone is not compliant with the statute.
Chief Shepherd, can you talk more about what has been done thus far and next steps?
We've been diligently working with this issue, and I'm so apologetic that anyone would be experiencing those type of issues. So let me say that from the first part. But we've only received maybe, I think, only 2 people that's coming with us for information. So I would highly encourage with you to get with our office and to provide those facts and substance so that we can act accordingly on that. But let me just bring up the 3 things that we have that were brought to our attention. The first thing was the environmental issue. We contacted the Alachua County Environmental Protection Agency. They came out and they did an inspection and they cleared that Dave of any type of environmental violations. They're a whole separate entity and they've done an inspection to that point. The business occupation, we have advised him on that. Contrary to what you guys are telling us, he's saying that he does not he's not running a business, residential business. He has business card.
And we have
Yes.
videos with him and his t-shirt.
Yes. So he does have a mobile business and he's registered with the Department of Agriculture with that. And the third part is the noise complaints that we have been looking into. We have routinely, our code enforcement has routinely went there and have not witnessed the stuff that was provided late in an hour for the video that's been given over to our code enforcement. And those videos are concerning. And I will acknowledge that. But we've not seen those type things, what the video showed. So that's what we have been doing, and those are the complaints. And like I said, I highly encourage you guys to bring this information to us, and we'll act accordingly based on the statute. We don't discriminate in that aspect, and we want you to be able to live with peace and normalcy as much as possible.
We will follow up on the new information that was received prior to the meeting, all the videos. I also will talk to our building department regarding the structures. So we will help follow through on what was brought before us tonight and continue to communicate with you and talk to the property owner. We understand this is an ongoing issue that impacts all of y'all. And so we will continue to work with code enforcement and work on the case. Unfortunately, sometimes when the noise and things like that happen, we can't be there, to know like right in front of the house, right? So if y'all can make it a concerted effort, I mean, call us like right when it happens. And so we can get out there and do the videos, like anything, so that we can we have to catch someone during the process a lot of times, which makes it difficult.
Lies. Every time someone goes out there, he just lies to them. So it's difficult.
And I've been fielding direct phone calls and direct video from certain residents and getting them to PD and been in contact with code enforcement. And we've been trying to physically catch, but I did get some good video this afternoon. Got a good long one yesterday. So all that's been sent to code enforcement. It just has gone in the case file and we're going through all the information. That was the majority of my afternoon, which along with Chief Shepherd's and code enforcement's afternoon, this afternoon was dealing with this. And we are taking it very seriously. It's just with anything with code enforcement, it takes time.
Right.
It's not an overnight process. It's long, cumbersome.
People are smart. They know when we're out there, they know when they're looking, and they know they're not working on the weekends. So if we need to work some on the weekends, like we'll keep at it. You can call it.
Mr. Mayor.
First to that, I understand that
Please come to the podium.
you can't always be around when it's happening. Originally, we called the police multiple times. They would show up. He would tell them, "Oh, I'm working on my stuff, whatever." He claims it's a mobile business, but it's not. He goes out, brings stuff back, and does it all there. The other thing is I had technical difficulties uploading videos, but I have recorded probably 100 videos, pictures, and other things showing him racing up and down the roads on his unlicensed four-wheelers, all of the vehicles coming and going, air compressors, air tools, all the noise. And as soon as he's got security cameras, so he probably sees when code enforcement is coming and he stops. Right. So anyway, in spite of all the deception, that's why I've spent all this time collecting that data, and I do have it available to show you. And if we can offload it off my phone, I can give you everything you need to understand how miserable this guy is making everybody around. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of video. There's a lot of frustration with this, and we get it. Yeah.
So is it possible for the legal team to contact the owner, or has anyone bothered to contact the owner from the city and ask him what he plans to do about this problem that he has perpetrated upon us all?
I know at one point code enforcement talked to the owner, but I don't know what was the outcome of that.
Ask for the information of the landlord. A lot of times with some of the violations, we can go after the occupant and also the landlord. I found a lot of times it's effective if we go after the landlord and then they sometimes vacate. So that's why I just ask her if you can provide that information. I'm not sure if April, our code enforcement has it. Okay.
Or because the owner of that place knows what's happening.
Okay. Sometimes when we kind of give them a phone call, we've had that where the landlord will make some changes or push them out. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, Commissioner Jones want to speak.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I was late getting in. I too, Commissioner Ambrose, I was floored actually when I saw the agenda last Thursday when it was sent to me. I really was not expecting to see that. But after reading it, I see where we do have some areas that we can control. It's not as if it's a free-for-all. And I know I highlighted a lot of areas that I can see where we still, as a city, have control and we can maintain order, a semblance of order. So it's what's done is done. It's a law. But I do believe we have some recourse in several of the areas, particularly with all those who have shown up tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I feel y'all concerned, but the city's working. They're working diligently. You can't, like you say, can't do it overnight, ma'am. I wish I could. We could, but let's keep the meeting. Let's keep the meeting to order, okay? I'm an easy, very going guy, if you see, but let's keep the meeting in order. Okay, if you're gonna speak, come to the podium and direct your comments to me. Okay, so we're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. All right. Anything else we need?
Mr. Mayor, a motion needs to be made on the ordinance.
Okay.
I don't believe a motion's been made yet.
No. I'll go ahead and say, one, I share all of your comments and concerns, and I have great faith that our city staff will navigate with these new guidelines to figure out a way to create some resolution. And on that, I move we pass ordinance 2022-01.
Second.
Yeah. Got a motion and a second. I don't know who's first, Jenny.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Any other discussions? Any other questions? And none?
Vice Mayor James,
Yes.
Commissioner Ambrose,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Whites.
Yes.
I'm sorry, was that a no?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Williams?
Yes. Okay. Motion carries. And thank y'all for coming out on tonight and voicing your concern. Thank y'all so much. All right. Business item number 3.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to discuss this item.
Okay. Let's get them a chance.
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 3.
Mr. Mayor, this is related to a code enforcement action that initially started in April of 2006 on a commercial property. We had a lien that there was a fine accruing at $200 a day starting April 2006 and continuing to accrue to this day. So the lien is now over $1 million. It's $1,666,000, I believe. When a code enforcement lien attaches to property, it attaches to all other property owned by that same property owner. And there was a tax deed sale on a residential property owned by Mr. Town. So there was a surplus of about $65,000. And so we made a claim for that surplus on this residential property. And through a settlement agreement and divvying up between all the creditors, we were going to receive where'd my settlement agreement go? $21,355.90. And so the settlement agreement that's in your packet essentially would have us receive that money. We would waive any claim to the residential property that's subject to the settlement agreement, but we would still have a claim to any other proceeds on other properties owned by Mr. Town in the event that they're sold later, and we can recoup additional fees for the code enforcement lien.
Okay. All right, thank you. And since 2006?
2006.
Huh? Kind of disturbing. We haven't dealt with this since 2006.
Ask a question. Aside from the agreement, did I understand you to say that we would have some legal rights against other properties that he owns?
That's correct. So
here in the city, he owns other properties here in the city?
That's correct. Any other property within Alachua County owned by Mr. Town, we could, our lien attaches to those properties. So if there's another sale and surplus funds, we can make a claim for those funds and recoup additional.
Do we know how many other properties?
I do not, but it's something we can look into.
I'm just curious. I wonder if there's anything along the way that we're gonna get any of the meal.
Commissioner.
No, I don't have anything to add. The city attorney answered my questions earlier. It'll be nice that this will show above what Ashley projected the city might receive for settlements this year. So you're ahead of budget.
Every little bit of money we can get helps.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. And the commissioners on Zoom. Any questions or comments?
No comments from me.
Nothing for me.
All right, thank you.
You ready for a motion?
Yes.
Some comments? I mean,
No.
audio comments?
But I'm gonna make the motion, then we'll. If comments.
Then I'll go ahead and make that motion. We go ahead and approve the settlement agreement that's been presented to us.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Anyone from the audience? Let's speak on this item. Okay, hearing none. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
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 Everyone eye on Zoom.
Yes, Linda Jones is aye.
Yes.
Okay. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right, item number 4, discuss and consider action appointing members to the vacant planning board.
A member of the plan board resigned, Mr. Ronald Wilson. And so that leaves one vacant position. We previously in November had 3 people, I believe, that had applied. There was Sonia Wilson, Brent Emerson, and Yvonne Andrews. I've spoken to Mr. Emerson. He is no longer able to serve. Then we had an application came in today from Mr. Hector Tapanes. And so those are the ones to consider for appointing to that position, open position.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I nominate Hector Tapanis.
I don't have that.
That's the new one.
That's the new one. It should be right there.
Mayor, I would go ahead and second Commissioner Jones's motion.
Okay, I got a motion and another second. Any other nominees? No other nominations? All righty. At this time, all in favor? Let me know by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 5, new business. Discuss and consider actions on resolution 2022-A.
Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2022-A, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of High Springs, Florida, authorizing the issuance by the city of not exceeding $589,000 in principal amount of its taxable and non-ad valorem revenue note, Series 2022, to provide funds to finance certain capital improvements within the city, authorizing the award of the sale of the note upon compliance with certain parameters, authorizing the execution and delivery of the form of attached loan agreement between the city and the purchaser of the note, covenanting to budget and appropriate legally available non-ad valorem revenue to pay the note, providing for a repeal of inconsistent provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
So just to give you some background on this item, the canoe outpost, the city purchased it in November of this year. Prior to the purchase, the commission passed a resolution that would allow, if the commission so desired, to go out for financing after the purchase. The reason why was because the final numbers for closing did not come in until the week of closing. So because of that, it would have been hard to determine how much was needed to get the financing. So it was purchased with Wild Spaces Public Places money and money from the Alachua County Trust associated with the conservation easement. Staff is recommending that we go ahead and finance it. The reason why is because the fund right now has 1.6 million in available resources. It is making around 300,000 to 400,000 a year. With the money we have right now, with the purchase, it took away around 600,000, leaving $1 million. We do have the Memorial Park project coming on, which is a matching grant, but due to the rising construction costs, it will likely cost more than was originally anticipated. Staff anticipates our share could be around 400 to 600,000. We also have the need to move forward on our Parks and Trail System master plan with all the development coming in, as well as we also had Catherine Taylor Park and some other projects the commission was interested in pursuing. So, so for that reason, we were recommending to go ahead and finance this. However, that is your decision tonight, what you would like to do.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, commissioners, discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question, if you could, please. We've already purchased this property and we're voting now whether or not to finance something that we've already purchased, if I understand Ashley correctly. And we still have $1 million in the fund even after we purchased the canoe outpost. So we're still very much in the black in this fund. And all of the numbers that I've heard so far for the projects that were just mentioned, my understanding is that we could still cash flow those. So I guess I question why it is we would elect to borrow money for something that's not a need.
This mainly depends on what projects you want to move forward with. Memorial Park, again, we're still, and Damon, if you want to come talk about some of the projects that were put in the budget this year, we could, Memorial Park, we really need to move forward on if y'all want to move forward on it and get the matching grant. Staff would also push the Parks and Trail System master plan. Like I said, that's going to get you close to, there's money for that, but then there's not going to be a lot left over. You're basically going to be starting over on the fund, give or take $200,000 or $300,000. So.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Mayor, as what our city manager mentioned, that we do have several projects that are coming into fruition for this fiscal year 2022. The Catherine Taylor Park project, the renovations we spoke of the other day. And also too, we have to take in consideration some of the projects that we'll be doing for next year, fiscal year 2023 as well. Looking at the lighting for the Civic Center Park as well. So we advise that to go with for the finance. It would just give us some leeway with some of the money that, there's still a lot of unknowns as far as what pricing and things of that nature, with the pricing going high, substantially high over the past several months.
I do think if you did Catherine Taylor plus Memorial Park plus Park System Trail Parks master plan, I think you could go over the million.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, if you want to start taking projects away, then you're clear. It's just, what you want to move it forward on this year and what you want us not to move forward on.
That's correct.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree with Commissioner White's. We have a canoe outpost is what's the name of the program? It just left my mind. Parks in
Wild Spaces.
There you go, Wild Spaces.
Wild Spaces. Yes.
We can put that in there. We have a lot of expenses coming up this year. We may have to scale back on some of the parks, but this was a huge purchase for the city of High Springs. We felt like it was a good move. Do we know what a monthly payment would be if we financed it?
Yes. 1 second. I just got to pull that section of the ordinance. This is resolution. This is a long resolution. Okay, so year 2022, it starts at 53,000. And then 2023 through 2028, it ranges between 85 and 94,000 over a period of 7 years.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Do we have the option of doing a lesser amount, like $250,000 instead of 600,000 to have some of that buffer? I mean, there are a lot of projects I'm concerned about, but also I still haven't seen a layout drawing for the Memorial Park expansion. And we've had that grant for over 3 years and it's coming due. So we either need to do something or we're going to, that FERDAP money has to go back. And, but like the lighting at the Civic Center, I don't know that I want to tell citizens we're not going to have lights for a year because that system finally fails or those poles snap over with the next hurricane because they've already been deemed to be past their useful life. Or so, you know, what do we need to do and minimize that? I also know interest rates right now are lower than they're probably going to be in another year. So borrowing money for this might be strategic versus borrowing money for, say, lights for the Civic Center. But I'm just, would it make a difference to do a lesser amount or is this the amount we need to do?
I think we can probably do any amount you want. We would just have to start over. They'd have to rebid. We do have bond counsel and PFM, our financial advisors here, who can talk more about that than me, but we'd have to start the process over. You know, the other part of this is there is a cost. I think Assistant City Manager wants to talk as well.
Mr. Mayor, can I just address something real quick? Yes. You know, when the Wild Spaces money was coming in, there was somewhat of a strategy as far as with the advisory board on what we're going to spend our money on. However, you know, things like the canoe outpost came pretty much on our lap, you know, roughly over a year ago. And we were just trying to debate the idea whether if we wanted to move forward with this, there is going to be some other possibilities perhaps in the future where we can try to capitalize on those opportunities, for instance, land, et cetera, and things of that nature. So just something to take in consideration as well. So that's all. These things, you know, have a tendency of popping up some opportunities along the way within the next couple of years. You know, there's also the possibility of November 8th of 2022 that's coming up, you know, with the possibility of Wild Spaces getting expanded for the next 8 to 18 years. So, I mean, there's just opportunities that are coming up as well. So,
and I would like to add, there's no prepayment penalty. So again, our financial advisors and bond counsel is here, but, you know, we could take out the loan and prepay, you know, which might be easier than starting over.
Mayor, I'd like to hear what they have to say.
Bruce, you have something to say before he can? Ross, you had a question? Why he come?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like, since they are there, I would like to hear what they have to say.
They're coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My question was, you're still negotiating for the operating agreement for the operation of the canoe service, correct?
Yes. So next agenda, we'll probably have to bring an extension in the agreement.
Okay, but potentially, if that were bringing in $20,000 or $30,000 a year, those revenues could offset this loan, correct?
Yes, if we bring in that amount of revenues a year.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Jeremy Needfield, I'm with public financial management, financial advisor to the city. Happy to answer any questions. I could talk through the process of putting the financing in place, the documentation. We have bond counsel here that can talk to the specifics and the legal documents. But as far as the transactions and costs and market access and things like that, I'm happy to answer any specific questions or provide a general overview of the process.
Any questions?
So, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I guess I was expecting a little bit more. So you don't have any opinion as to what we're talking about?
I think one of the questions was, can we finance less and would there be a cost to that? I know there are fees when we get this done, kind of, and how long would that take, all that sort of thing.
Sure, absolutely. You have full flexibility to go back and negotiate the terms of the loan with the bank. The bank had offered the amount that we had requested in the RFP, and it was an attractive rate. It's a taxable loan, which gives you flexibility for the use of proceeds, and you're not restricted in how the management contract may work, the canoe outposts and other uses of these funds. The market interest rates was mentioned. We are at fairly low interest rates, especially for a taxable loan, to come in where it did. The prepayment flexibility is something that if there were wild spaces money that comes in, there's not a penalty to prepay the loan. So you're giving yourself capacity from a budget perspective to accelerate prepayment. So there's several positive things brought into the deal, but certainly to renegotiate the loan, rates have moved against us in the last month and a half. So certainly the rate wouldn't be committed to. We would go back to the bank and negotiate what current rates would be, and that's something we could come back with, and we would just structure the note and the agreement to whatever the amount is that y'all would want to have built into that renegotiated deal.
Thank you. That's the information I needed.
And just maybe to throw some other numbers out there, the loan rate was set at a 2.23%. That's a 7-year loan. That's taxable again. So there is the benefit of having flexibility to use the proceeds however you would wish to use the proceeds.
Thank you. Any other questions for him? Bruce, you want to say something?
The idea behind this was to keep from depleting wild spaces money to allow us to move forward with the other projects we had going on. That was the thought process behind this is we could have paid for it up front, or we could spread it out over 7 years. And if we tried to fund all this up front, we're going to get rid of other projects. The ball field lighting, probably Memorial Park wouldn't happen right now. There's a couple other things that would not be able to happen if we didn't handle it this way. By doing it this way, it allows us to do the projects with the canoe outpost. It allows us to do the other projects that we've been trying to complete and get moving on and move forward on. It allows us to explore other options within that. And with the cost of the canoe outpost, it allows us to spread it out over a 7-year period while we're able to accomplish the other projects that the advisory board would like to see accomplished and that the commission would like to see accomplished through strategic planning. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, well, one thing to point out, and I should have mentioned this when I mentioned the rate, the total interest over the 7-year period is about $50,000. So it is, there is a cost to it, as much as $10,000 a year to have that flexibility and capacity. But for the total borrowing of $589,000, the total interest paid over that 7-year period at a 2.23 is right around $50,000.
Any other questions? Anyone from
Mayor, if I could, please.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So from the budget items that I looked at with Ashley the other day, after the $589,000 came out of the funds, we still had $1 million. Memorial Park was looking like $200,000 to $300,000. And please correct me if I'm wrong on these. And then Catherine Taylor Park, I saw a $25,000 line item. I'm just not seeing, I understand that there are a lot of important projects that need to move forward, but I think in the background as well, if we're talking about lighting and improvements like that, would ARPA funds not be a possibility there as well to help take care of that kind of stuff rather than borrowing money for these projects?
So I think Damien's here to talk about the cost of some of the projects. Likewise, ARPA funds, a lot of what they're focusing on are water, sewer, and broadband. They did make what is allowed a little more recently, and they came out with a large document that they've sent us which allows more flexibility, but I'd have to go, I think before I would have said, no, we can't, but now I need to go back and double check to see if there's anything we can. I think it might be a stretch for some of it and maybe some of it would be allowed now, but it's a.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
I just remembered seeing something about lighting in the original documents that we saw there, so I just wondered if that might not be a possibility.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
We're looking roughly with Memorial Park, roughly $600,000. Roughly, that's what we're looking at. As far as Catherine Taylor Park, anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000 in renovations of the actual building and the park itself. And what I was meaning as far as the lighting goes, that's $450,000 to $500,000 that we're looking for next fiscal year, 2023, for Civic Center lighting.
And the Parks and Trail System Master Plan, I would say around 200,000.
And also, yes, and Mr. Mayor, with the rail trail as well, we were looking at adding some treasure to that as well, anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000 in the next couple of years too.
Likewise, if we want to go up for more grants, a lot of times it helps when it's already designed. So you need to have money for that as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Huh? Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, sir, please. Yes.
My name's Rick Testa. If you remember, I got up a little while ago and I was thrilled to death with you guys borrowing $850,000 to put in a well, because that's a priority for a lot of the people in the community that pay attention. They've been here a long time. Big priority. The second one is the sewer system. It started out at $13 million. That was the loan that the city had to pay back on the sewer system. This goes back way before most of you were active here. I know the mayor certainly was aware of everything that happened during the sewer system expenses. You still have a loan on the sewer system after 30 years, 25 years. This park that became available, the Canoe Outpost. Also, there's only a few of you here that probably remember we went through this a few years ago with Post Springs. And Mr. Mayor, may I ask the city manager a question? Is that appropriate? Do you have any understanding of what took place during the Post Springs offering? Do you remember?
I was not here during that time. I've only been here for a year.
Right, I understand that. So this is my point. I'm trying to make a point from a taxpayer's perspective. It doesn't sound like much, $580,000 for the Canoe Outpost. They're cutting trees right now. I suppose the city's paying for that right now, correct? The contract with the tree company?
I want to clarify something, that general tax dollars are not going to this project. This is coming out of Wild Spaces Public Places funding. So it is a special revenue just for Parks and Recs, and that's all this can be used for.
Okay.
So this is not coming from Avalorum tax base.
Okay, well, who's paying for the contract for the tree trimmers right now?
Wild Spaces.
Okay, good.
So it's out of that conservation Wild Spaces Public.
That's great. And when I was over there and saw what was going on over there, it's a big project, and I'm real happy to hear it's not costing the taxpayers money to cut the trees down. But what I was going to say, a little bit of history, I only got a couple of minutes, so I'll make it short. Post Springs was offered to the city of High Springs just a few years ago. Had a completely different commission, except the mayor there was sitting right there through the whole thing. He remembers clearly what took place. Yeah, it would have been great to get Post Springs, a beautiful location. It would have been a nice, bee in the bonnet for High Springs. Just the maintenance alone was about $186,000 a year. This was, how many years ago was that, Mr. Mayor? 10, 12, whatever, 7. So that, $186,000 just for the maintenance on that property to the taxpayers of High Springs. You're going to have the same problem with the Canoe Outpost. You all are already aware of that. I'm not bringing anything new to you. What I'm saying to you is I'm real happy you're taking care of the water. Let's wait. Let's just wait a while and see what this is going to be. This is a big snowball getting ready to start rolling downhill with the park. I'm thrilled to death you got the park. I think it'll be good for the river. I think it'll be good for High Springs, for tourism, for commercialism, if that'll help. I also have one more question. I'm just saying, from a historical perspective, you already have a blueprint. Look what happened at Post Springs. We couldn't take it. The city just couldn't justify taking on that project because of the costs. You've gotten this one laid in your lap, but it's going to cost you a lot of money, and you already know that. Let's wait on the $580,000 loan. And with this, I'd like to ask one more question. You're bringing in a concession, I understand. You're trying to, is that correct, Mr. Mayor? A concession to run the park? Will you be getting revenue from that concession? Do you plan on that?
We plan to get some revenue. We have not, we do not have a final contract ready. Also, I would like to clarify that this, the money from the conservation easement, that's helping pay for some of the improvements taking place right now. So this is just reimbursing the purchase that was already made. There's no additional monies being spent currently. So I kind of think the way you talked, it's like we're throwing another $600,000 out there. It's to reimburse what's already been spent.
Okay, and that's, I'm glad that you clarified that, and I can see what you're saying, but again, I introduced myself as a simple taxpayer.
Mhm.
And I would ask you to wait on borrowing more money at this point in time on that particular project. If you need money for the lights, if you need money for the Vision Park, next commission meeting, bring that up and get some money for those projects. I know it costs money to get the banks involved and it takes time. But that's all I have to say is I would like to see as a citizen here and a taxpayer, wait a little while on the canoe outpost.
Again, we haven't borrowed any money yet, just to clarify that.
No, I understand.
Okay, I was just, now on the well we did, this project, we have not borrowed any money as of yet. We used what was in the wild spaces and that we're trying to replenish that so we can move forward with the other projects. So I just wanted to make sure.
I understand that technically. I'm asking you as a taxpayer on this particular issue, this part of the agenda. I was very happy to see what you all have been doing with the wells. I hate to go through that. My time's up, but you've got my opinion, but thank you very much for the time and the extra time.
Mr. Mayor, just real quick, what I was getting at as far as the wild spaces, public places, that it's going to be voted in hopefully on November 8th. And if we get those funds for the next anywhere from 10 to 18 years, to my understanding, we could probably make the full payment right then and there, knowing we're going to be getting a significant amount of money for the next 10, 18 years as well. So just something to put out there. That's what I was getting at.
The key number that I heard tonight was from our bond counsel that if we went the full 7 years, the interest would be approximately $50,000. So that's really the net cost to citizens potentially. We're paying a couple $100,000 more on a water well because the commission waited and didn't have the flexibility, and we had to do it in another fiscal year. So as a business owner, there are times where I am unsure about certain things or what the exact decision process is going to be. So sometimes I borrow money and there's that interest cost. So knowing that we potentially could be offsetting that interest cost with revenue from the delivery operations and the RFP we have coming up, maybe that factors into how we negotiate with that, knowing that we can prepay it. I'm inclined to give staff the flexibility as the budget and continue to give the commission options with the idea that one, we not take it out 7 years and we try and pay it off soon or come in with a revenue stream to offset the interest. But I'm inclined to vote in favor of this to give us the flexibility so that when citizens start going, hey, why aren't you doing this or why aren't you doing that? I mean, it's a designated fund. We have to use it for parks. And it allows us to do a lot as we're growing. And again, parks and recreation are an economic development tool. We've had a lot of studies that tell us that, and it's a quality of life issue for people in the area. So I say it buys us some flexibility with a minimal cost that we have the ability to offset. If we only go 3 years, we don't spend anywhere near this $50,000. So when you're ready for a motion, I would motion that after the other commissioners have weighed in.
Yes, I'm okay. Other commissioners? And a motion.
I move, we move forward with resolution 2022A, authorizing this loan for the $589,000
Okay. I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, any questions? And none?
Commissioner Ambrose,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Whites,
No.
Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor James.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. All right, moving on to item number 6. Discuss and consider to act on resolution 2022-C.
Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2022-C, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of High Springs, Florida, authorizing the city to join with the state of Florida and other local government units as a participant in the Florida Memorandum of Understanding and formal agreements implementing a unified plan for the allocation and use of opioid litigation settlement proceeds, approving the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk as attesting witnesses on behalf of the city to execute the Memorandum of Understanding, any formal implementing agreement, and any other necessary and customary documents in furtherance hereof, and providing an effective date.
And Chief Shepherd will speak to this one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. This particular agenda item is in relation to the state of Florida, particularly the Attorney General's office that has acquired funds through litigation with various pharmaceutical companies concerning the opioid crisis. This settlement encompassed approximately $5 billion over 9 years. The city of High Springs would receive an estimated $30,630 spread out over several years. That amount could change depending on a number of cities and counties participating. The money is limited to substance abuse, education, treatment, and other related programs and services. And finally, we acknowledge that, the element of drug abuse does exist in our community and affects us in all fashions. Therefore, it's incumbent that we take some action. So we recommend approval.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Any questions?
Chief Shepherd, I have a question. Could the funds from this be used to buy Narcan for you and the force to use?
I'm not particularly sure on that, but I spoke a while back. We have partnered with the Gainesville Police Department, and they provided us some training and purchasing of Narcans.
And to let you know that, so there's a memorandum of understanding that outlines some of the unified plan that will dictate what the funds can be spent and what they can't. But all of that really hasn't been worked out yet. Another agreement will be coming forward after they know how many cities and counties are coming on and the final number that the cities and counties will get. And then there will be a more specific plan on what we can use the funds on and what we can't.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I think everybody knows how I feel about opioid issues that we're having. I've been, as I mentioned before, watching the webinars they've had on it, and it's absolutely incredible. The sheriff's departments, across the state, I'm talking about state only, so many people are involved with trying to take care of the opioids. What we see, one pill can kill you. And so many people don't realize that. And people are losing their children, particularly because kids go out and they have a party. And in the past, you never had to worry about, you get high or whatever. And the next day you'd have a headache. I don't know. I've never taken drugs. I'm just going on what they say. But it's very dangerous now how one pill, because the fentanyl that's in these pills is not the grade that doctors use for people who use it for pain management. And it's just so, if you were to listen to any of these, you would understand how frightening it is. And it's getting worse. It's a huge industry and it's getting worse. So anything that we can do to further our police department, the states, whatever, I am definitely in favor of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Chief Shepherd. Hearing none. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
You got comments down there? Okay, then,
Hand is raised.
Yeah, give me 1 second, baby.
no, that'll. get
No,
her-
go. We can make the motion, then we're not allowed.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I can't hear what's going on.
We just begin to make the motion.
I was gonna make a motion that I'd like to make the motion that resolution number 2022-C be approved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, audience, questions or comments?
Y'all know me, Julie, and I don't talk about this too lightly. I think I've discussed it with people, but 3 weeks ago, I lost an employee to fentanyl in High Springs. And I had to be with the family when we found her passed away. And she did not survive. She was one of my employees, one of my friends, and it was fentanyl and Percocets. So y'all don't think that it is real here. And I have to attend her service next week. And it was preventable. She was a fine young lady. She went to Gainesville and got with the wrong doctor. They wrote her prescription and she went home and took too much and she passed immediately. And that's what's happening is people are trying to cover up their pain. And it was not an easy situation to deal with. So it is here in High Springs and it is real. And I dealt with it 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor James,
Yes.
Commissioner Ambrose.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. All righty, City Attorney's report and updates.
Nothing from me.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
Quick and easy.
Very easy. All right, Madam City Manager.
Okay, as you'll see, we have High Springs highlights on your, before you. And Operation Holiday Cheer was a success as always. They helped 45 kids and 16 families have a better Christmas. We also hired a new employee in the building department, Tammy Kennard, and she's a permit tech. Likewise, we've received many questions on the fire apparatus and they both are coming on great. And we expect for them to come in late 2022 if there are no delays. And the fire department received an increase in volume of calls last year of 20%, which is significant. As well, I know the long-awaited comp plan will be before you at the next commission meeting. So we'll get that to you as soon as possible so you can start reading it early. It will go before you for your review, then it goes before the state for them to review and then comes back to you again. So you'll have more than one time to see it prior to adoption. So the other thing is the Arpa funds. That is something we need to continue to work through with the number of items on the agenda next time. It might be too much to go into a discussion on that. It might be more conducive to have another workshop. So I would suggest we either put on the first meeting in February or we have another workshop. Staff just kind of needs to know how you would like to move forward with that discussion. If you want another workshop or if you want it on a regular agenda. So you can just kind of let Jenny or I or know or your thoughts or Bruce on that one. As well as Frozen Foot's coming up in February. So
Frozen what?
Frozen Foot, the Frozen Foot run. Do you want to talk about it, Damon?
Mr. Mayor, if you want to join, I have a registration form for you.
When you say frozen foot, that
Yes,
take
sir.
me back
Yes,
to my
sir.
military days, so I know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a 5K run. I believe this is our 5th. And walk as well. Yes, that is correct. And it is on December 12th. It starts at 9 a.m. and it cuts through the neighborhoods of Bailey Estates as well. It starts at the Civic Center. I believe the 5th year now. We're looking at the 5th, 6th year now. Mr. Ambrose was a very heavy hitter with this before I got here.
I'm not sure.
Yes, sir. So,
I think it's 5.
yes, yes. Make sure we have a shirt for each and every single one of you. Need to get sizes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful event, and we raise some money that goes right back into the rec department for, you know, the soccer goals, soccer balls, et cetera, for our youth activities, et cetera. So,
okay. Sign me up, sign me and Bruce up.
yes, sir. Yes. Yes, Mr. Dave Sutton has been doing a very good job working with it. It's kind of like a passion project, him working in conjunction with the Parks and Recreation Department. So,
okay. Keep me advised on that. We might miss some years, but who knows?
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Are we going to wear costumes, Damon?
Perhaps that's something we could look
Yeah.
into for, you know, this next year, but
Yeah.
you can go ahead and start the trend this
Okay,
year
all
if you
right.
like.
The city of High Springs, we all have our costumes.
That
Like
would be
the women wear the
wonderful.
tutus when we run.
I think for next year, we need to have a commission meeting to discuss some other ideas. I think we're onto something here.
I can see Bruce.
We can certainly get some citizen comment on this.
Okay.
So, yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Bruce.
Code enforcement. We're doing a lot of code enforcement stuff. We've been working on a few things. PD's cop cars are starting to roll in. We got $500,000 in equipment sitting over at Park right now. They're starting to move forward on it. Well should start drilling on the well first week of February. Hoping to have it done by the middle of March. Should be online somewhere around May. So got to go through testing, bacterials, pipe. I mean, there's a whole process, but it should take about 6 weeks to get it bored and ready to roll. We're still waiting on paperwork on the sewer plant expansion. So just waiting on some stuff, Swanee River, just running through the process on that paperwork. Got some more grants we're working on. Just working with the attorney's office on catching up on some ordinances that are behind and cleaning up some stuff. And that's really all I got.
AMI is coming forward too.
AMI will be coming forward. So we had 2 bidders for AMI, AMR. Both meet their qualifications. One's really close. One meets everything. I didn't feel like that there was enough to disqualify the one. So we're going to bring them both forward. Let them do presentations to y'all. We'll bring one in one meeting, one in the next meeting, and then we'll make a decision on which one we want to negotiate with. So the qualifications are pretty close. Which way they want to go. Staff has their recommendation, but we want them to come to y'all and let them present it, and then we can make a decision collectively together. Water tower is going to be, there's some cost coming on the water tower about stripping it all the way down to bare metal to get rid of the aluminum paint that's up there now. It's due for some service. We're waiting on the 3rd well to an extent, but there's some areas we got to start moving forward on. The mixer got struck by lightning. There's a few things we need to be doing on there. Trying to think if there's anything else. There was some discussion that the 2nd well was down. It's already back up running. It's been fixed. So that was a short period. We just had to get it rebuilt over the Christmas holiday. Any questions?
Oops. Yeah. All right. Commissioner Jones, you have anything?
No, I don't. Thank you.
You're welcome. Commissioner Watts?
I don't have anything. I apologize for my tardiness and my absence. I'm out of town with my youngest for a really fun band thing, so I appreciate you letting me zoom in late.
We do, as parents, we do understand. All right, Commissioner.
Yeah, a couple of things here. One, happy welcome to 2022 and our first meeting. And I would like to point out, I'm very happy to say that sitting up here, I actually, along with Ginny and Byron, were in the chambers the night the sewer bond was first authorized to go forward. We chose a sewer system back in, I think that was 2023 or 2003.
What?
Sorry about that. 2003. And I was also over at the Civic Center when the city decided not to go forward with Post Springs and listened to all that dialogue as well. There's a lot of history there.
Yes.
The Memorial Park grant was mentioned tonight, and I would just like city staff, if they could let us know if there is a sunset for us spending those funds and when that'll be. And it can be done in a meeting or offline at some other time. And then the last things have to do with the TDC. They had their bi-monthly meeting recently, which I was a part of. And, we've talked about tourism and the impacts, and all the data for Alachua County is tourism is continuing to increase. The city of Newberry events and the Easton Sports Complex filled a substantial number of beds over the year, more than the University of Florida did. In fact, the highest attended event from the most states in the entire country has been archery events at the Easton Sports Complex and the families that go with that. But also our High Springs BMX group stepped up during COVID a number of months ago and offered the track up with less than 30 days notice when another facility canceled, and they had a major race. And because of that, they have been awarded another state race, which will be happening September 23rd through 25th. And that's a regional event. Oh, it was okay, Southeast regional event. So that's even better than a state event. That's a big deal. So that'll be a busy weekend in and around High Springs.
And I think you've got the state event. Two large events, I believe.
Yeah. So anyway, things are happening, and they acknowledged the role that we're playing in tourism in Alachua County. And that is all I have.
Thank you, sir. Nice man, James.
No, not tonight.
Not tonight. All right. Thanks there. The first one is all those white birds I seen out here today. Where did they come from?
I saw them the other day. They were crossing the street.
Yes, I saw so suddenly. Nobody know seen them except me, Miss.
I've never seen them.
You seen them, Bruce?
Yeah, we were trying to replace
But that's much nicer than the buzzers. That's okay.
I don't know where they're coming from.
They're cute little birds or whatever they are. Huh?
Swans. There's quite a few of them.
Yes, quite a few of them. I'm just confused where they come from. They cross the highway.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for the little thing. I started calling Antoine. I need to direct traffic. Yeah, I'm curious. So when y'all, I'm in the grassy area here. Cute birds. Maybe in the future, for an agenda item, I have some great concerns about some of the homes that this one gentleman was building in the house on I call them 40 by 40 lots. I have a great concern with those small lots. I mean, the houses are this close together.
Now you're just clarification, you're talking about the one, two, and I.
Yes.
Just like the city manager.
Yes. Yeah. I have great concerns about that, but those small lots like that.
You don't like lots where there's only room for a door and one window?
Huh?
I said you don't. I'm sorry. I said joke.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bruce, you need to turn on your microphone. I can't hear what you're saying.
It really wasn't relevant. It said you could shower with your neighbor. The houses are so close together, for the record.
Where are these being built?
Existing lots. There's several of them throughout town. Mayor Williams brought it to my attention. I met him out at a couple of them, and he was making a recommendation to put it on a future agenda for more discussion.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, it's too, he took, this is my opinion. He took 2 lots and put 3 houses.
Oh.
Is one on
Okay.
Rose Avenue there where they cleared all that land?
No, not those. It's on the other side of town. That would be 1
186, I believe.
685,
187.
something up in there. Yeah, but that's on that end of town. Just curious because it's just, I have a problem with the houses, but on such a small, you couldn't, too close. You can't, between the houses, if you get you can't put a lawnmower through it. So
That's all the rage in South Florida.
Huh?
That's all the rage in South Florida.
Yeah. That's why we'll move to South Florida. Thank you for High Spring. But we can look into that. That's a great concern for mine. It's just, I don't mind building the houses, but on such small lots. Another thing I have is invitation for y'all to join us on this Monday, the 17th, for the MLK Day observance. We have a march here from City Hall. We'll gather here at City Hall at 11 a.m. and we'll start the march at 11:30 and we'll march down to Catherine L. Taylor Park. And at that time at 12 p.m. we have a service out there with speakers and good singing. So if you're not doing anything, please join us on Monday, January the 17th. And that's all I have. Anything else need to come before this board? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.
Mayor, Manager, City Council.